Cambodia, 1970. Photographer Don McCullin was running for cover when an AK-47 round hit his camera. The camera stopped it. He survived. It was a Nikon F, a Japanese camera. 25 years earlier, Japan made cameras almost no one outside Japan had heard of. Japan's victory was not an accident. ODA was built on 4 structural weapons. Some were given, some were borrowed, some were earned. All of them were used. March 7, 1949. An American banker named Joseph Dodge landed in Tokyo. Japan's economy was in chaos. Multiple exchange rates were running at once. Inflation was out of control. Dodge's solution was simple and brutal. Fix the yen, one rate, no exceptions. 360 yen per dollar. West Germany was rebuilding too, but its wages were rising fast. Every Deutsche Mark paid to a craftsman raised the price of his camera. Japan kept its yen artificially weak, locked at 360 per dollar. It wasn't about being cheaper to make, it was about being cheaper to ship. Same labor cost, same materials, half the price abroad. That gap wasn't market discipline, it was monetary architecture. Throughout the 1950s, Germany was still the world's dominant camera producer. By 1962, Japan had taken the top spot. The yen didn't build the factories, but it kept them running. That was Weapon 1. The rate held for 22 years, through 3 American presidents, 2 Japanese economic miracles, and every camera shipped to New York and Hamburg. 360 yen to the dollar. Until 1971, that number was the single most important figure in Japan's export economy. June 25, 1950. North Korea crossed the 38th parallel. Within days, the United States was at war, and Japan became its primary supply base. Over 3 years, the U.S. military spent $2 billion in Japan. For a country still rebuilding, this was the lifeline. Japan's factories were running again, on American money. Earlier in 1950, life photographer David Douglas Duncan was in Tokyo. He was documenting traditional Japanese arts, not looking for cameras. A Japanese colleague handed him a Nikkor lens. Duncan mounted it on his Leica body and shot a roll of film. The prince came back to New York. His editors asked Duncan why he was using a plate camera. They couldn't believe a 35mm lens had made those images. The lens was from Japan. The query was procedural. The answer reshaped a market. After Duncan, many life photographers passing through Tokyo bought Nikkor lenses of their own. Duncan visited the Nippon Kogaku factory. Within weeks, many life photographers passing through Tokyo were buying Nikkor lenses. Japan had not yet built a camera body the world trusted, but it had built a lens the world could not ignore. That was Weapon 2. By 1945, Zeiss Jena was the finest optical factory in the world. Every serious photographer, everywhere, used German glass. October 22, 1946. Operation Osoviachim. Over 90% of Zeiss Jena's equipment had already been shipped east. That night, 275 specialists were sent east along with it. The world's greatest optical works had been emptied. But the Soviets couldn't take everything. A fragment of the Zeiss team remained in East Germany. With what tools they had left, they built a camera, the Contax S, released in 1949. It was the first widely produced camera with a fixed pentaprism viewfinder, and it introduced a lens mount designed to fit any manufacturer's glass. They called it the M42. In 1952, Asahi Optical built its first SLR around the M42 mount. In 1957, they released the Asahi Pentax. The blueprint for Japan's SLR revolution came from a factory the Soviets had stripped. There is one more detail. The name Pentax was first trademarked by VEB Zeiss Icon in East Germany. Asahi acquired the rights in 1957, though they credit the name to their own design. Either way, the trademark had crossed the Iron Curtain to get there. That was Weapon 3. By the late 1950s, Japan had cameras the world wanted to buy. But wanting to buy is not the same as being able to buy. Getting Japanese cameras into American stores was the next problem. Around 1957, Asahi Optical found a solution. An American company called Honeywell agreed to distribute the Pentax in North America. In American stores, it sold as the Honeywell Pentax. An unknown Japanese brand had American credibility behind it. Overnight, Canon followed the same approach. In 1961, Bell & Howell began distributing Canon cameras across the United States. The Bell & Howell/Canon name appeared in stores from coast to coast. These partnerships brought more than shelf space. Honeywell and Bell & Howell had existing service networks across the country. A Japanese camera could be repaired at an American dealer's counter. Leica was watching from a different position. The M3, released in 1954, was made for professionals and priced for them. In the 1950s, a new Leica cost what a craftsman earned in a month. That was Leica's strategy. Not a defeat, a choice. Japan didn't build a sales network, it rented one. That was Weapon 4. By the early 1960s, Germany had lost the camera market it had built. The question is not what happened. The question is why Germany couldn't stop it. First, the Zeiss name itself was split in two. Carl Zeiss Jena in the east, Carl Zeiss Oberkochen in the west. Both companies claimed the same name. Both went to court. While they fought over a trademark, Japan was selling cameras. Second, the Wirtschaftswunder worked against Germany's camera makers. West Germany's economic miracle drove wages up fast. The same prosperity that rebuilt the country made its cameras more expensive. Third, Leica's entry into SLR cameras came 7 years late. The Asahi Pentax arrived in 1957, the Nikon F in 1959. Leica released its first SLR, the Leica Flex, in 1964. 7 years is a generation in a competitive market. Fourth, Japanese brands had Honeywell and Bell & Howell behind them. German brands sold through specialist optics importers, a narrower channel. These traps did not arrive separately. They arrived together. No single trap would have been fatal on its own. Together, they made recovery structurally impossible. Germany didn't lose the war of optics. It lost the structure that surrounded it. Today, the cameras of this era still pass from hand to hand. On eBay, in camera shops, in the studios of working photographers. 4 weapons, one given by occupation policy, one borrowed from a factory that no longer existed, one earned in the mud of Korea, one built in American showrooms. None of them were the camera itself. A Leica M3 from 1954, an Asahi Pentax from 1957, a Nikon F from 1959, all built in the shadow of the same Cold War. Some were given, some were borrowed, some were earned. All of them were used, and all of them are still being used today. The camera that survived McCullin's war was made by a country that, 20 years earlier, made almost nothing the world wanted. That is the story optics told. If stories like this interest you, subscribe. Next time, how Germany tried to fight back, and what really killed Zeiss Icon. And if any of these old Japanese lenses speak to you, you'll find a small working collection of them in the description below.